go. Hi, everyone. Welcome to another awesome day of FileMaker Training. I'm Richard Carlton, creator of FMTrain.tv. We're very excited to have all of you here. It's Monday. In fact, Nick Hunter is supposed to be here. Is Nick Hunter here?
He is.
Yeah.
Hi, Nick. How are you? He is
I'm
here.
very good, thank you.
So Nick is going back on the schedule. We're starting him in 2 weeks, and Nick has no idea what to talk about. He's been gone for months. He has no idea what to talk about. So he is soliciting requests for ideas from you on topics that you would like to see covered by Nick. Larry, the Marine, wants to know, how is Greece?
Oh, it's very nice. We have a good weather. We have fantastic weather.
So Nick, you're here, but we're going to schedule him up. So everyone say hi to Nick. We love Nick. Welcome back. We're happy he's here. Everyone's saying welcome back. We are broadcasting in high definition on YouTube, Twitch, and Discord. I'm going to share my screen real quick with Nick so he can see what's going on. I'm going to go ahead and press the upcoming broadcast schedule. Mechanical coding of scripts, like for beginners, day 1, day 2 today. I'm glad you're back. You're glad doing well. If you folks have topics or questions for Nick, we're going to start him off at 1 day a week, and then we're going to accelerate him up to multiple days a week. So that's the plan. We want Nick back in the saddle doing great things, and we look forward to that. So, all right, let me move forward today. So that's it for you for today, Nick. I'll see you.
Okay,
if
see
you
you
want
guys.
to support the channel, and you want, because I'm going to have to pay Nick because Nick ain't free. So purchase one of the training bundles, and that helps us keep the lights on at RCC. So the topic question came up is this ongoing conversation about it's this idea of a very mechanical process, very, step 1, step 2, step 3 process. Here's the deal, very important about FileMaker, is that if we want to step through and build a script, I was working on this document a little bit. Some of you saw me working on this a little bit. And the idea is that when I train on anchor buoy or I train on relationships, I try to train on step 1, step 2, step 3. And we've done this before, but I'm happy when the anchor buoy questions come up, because the anchor buoy questions really are, it's not so much what is anchor buoy and why. It's the broader question is, how do I do the relationship graph in FileMaker and have it logically make sense? The problem in the world of programming in general, and especially for those of you who don't have a background in programming, is the idea that it's a blank piece of paper. You can do whatever you want, and you can creatively solve problems. That's great. However, sometimes it's better to have a little bit of guidance from me or from someone. Doesn't have to be me. And that guidance is going to be that here's a step-by-step process, a cookie-cutter process, like how to make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. For those of you, 2 pieces of bread and a jar of peanut butter and a jar of jelly or whatever. Some of you like peanut butter and honey. My dad was like that. It was never my thing. And then you put jelly on one side, peanut butter on the other side, smash them together, eat sandwich, okay? That's step 1, step 2, step 3, step 4. It's pretty straightforward. Now, if you've never built a peanut butter and jelly sandwich before and you've got a 4 or 5-year-old doing that, that's going to be a lot of little bits and pieces asking them to do that, but it's a good training thing for a brand new person. Well, a lot of us here in the world of FileMaker are brand new, and so that's what I try to do, is I try to give you step 1, step 2, step 3. It doesn't mean that that's the only way to do it. It just means that's a logical, thoughtful way to follow the process, right? And to try to keep you out of trouble. Then when you get more advanced, you'll know that, you'll know which rules you can break. It's like one time when I was younger, I really was hungry and I was like 12 and I just was eating the house down, and I made a triple sized peanut butter and jelly sandwich. So I knew what rules I could break in the peanut butter and jelly sandwich department. Like if I had bread, and then if you just slather peanut butter and jelly on the counter, that sucks. That's not a win. But if you use another piece of bread and put some more between that, you could have a triple one high. So I knew you start to learn what rules you can break. And as a more advanced developer, a lot of you are more advanced, you'll see what I'm training, and you'll understand where you can break the rules to do other bigger, greater things. But sometimes we have to train the basics. That's kind of what today is about, these mechanical conversations, right? And so what I want to do, so the idea, if we have ideas along the way, but let's talk about this. So this one is very simple. I'll say simple. It's relative. When I say simple on this right here, I'm going to be working on a list of things that we're going to solve on a day-to-day basis, and we're doing the mechanical. Tomorrow's going to be a pickup of this conversation. And what I'm going to do is, some of you want to start with a basic file, But some of you, in this case, I want to start with a slightly more complicated file, which is this starting point light. We've got a bunch of bug fixes. This is the starting point light 24X1. The X2 will come out probably this week. It's got a number of fixes in it. So here's the deal with mechanical coding. And I just had this conversation with Margaret like 10 minutes ago. In fact, while the opening music was going. And the idea is that people are overwhelmed by the relationship diagram. That's why we do anchor buoy, and that's where there's rules for that, okay? And then they're also overwhelmed by writing a script. And so the idea is this old joke, and I would never eat an elephant, but there's this old joke, how do you eat an elephant? And the answer is one bite at a time. If you have a project that's a big project, how do you solve that project? You solve it one little step at a time. And so what I want to do is walk through a conversation. We say, we're going to go solve this problem. What are the individual steps to do that? The trick with scripting at the beginning and intermediate level, it's actually still how when I get confused, I stop and I go back to this, is you need to sit down with the problem statement in your head. The problem statement today is going to be, Jesse, I'm going to already have you start thinking about this. The problem statement is going to be, I want to duplicate an invoice, okay? And you're like, okay, that's great. I'm going to duplicate an invoice. I'm going to add a line here. I'm going to have some other stuff. I have quantity 5, and I have 32, and then I'm going to add this other line, and this is, I'll call them red shoes. That way people don't freak out so much. And I want a 100 pack of red shoes because they're really powerful. They're $2 a piece. That's $200. So you're in a system, in a FileMaker system. You're on a parent record with a child record, or parent record, a parent table, parent layout, and there's a related child in a portal. That's what an invoice is. It has line items in it, okay? That's what this is right here. The problem statement for today is duplicate this invoice. And you're like, that's so simple. I'm going to come over here and I'm going to go record, duplicate record. And what you realize is that some of it's duplicated and some of it's not. And then suddenly you realize, oops, maybe it's a little bit more work, okay? So, Jesse, are you ready? Are you ready to go? Are you ready to go through this process? She is ready. All right, Jesse, or maybe other people here might chime in. If we lose Jesse, she disconnects, we're going to ask David Angel, any other ones that want to jump in on this. But what I'm going to ask for you to do is let's write through the steps to do this. I'm going to come over here. I'm going to tell the system format. I'm going to put it into lettered like this. So we have A. I'm going to move it over there like that. There we go. So there's A. So what are the steps to duplicate the invoice, okay? So don't think about this scripting it. Let's pretend that Jesse is going to tell Fred or tell me, Richard, how to do it manually. How to do it manually. And when I say do it, we're talking about duplicate the invoice manually, right? We make sense, Margaret? You're going to have to jump in here and help out. So first thing we need to do is make a button, okay? The button will do a script, okay? But when we have a brand new person, or I understand that from the programming standpoint, but let's talk about if you're telling someone at the office how to duplicate an invoice, because clearly going the invoice and telling it to duplicate here doesn't meet our needs, right? So how would we solve this? Can you tell me? And why don't you articulate what Jesse's saying, Margaret, or people on Discord are saying. So Jesse is working from home. She gets a phone call. How do I duplicate this invoice? And she has to walk them through on the phone to manually do it with their personal keyboard and mouse and their fingers. Write those steps out. So Margaret, so make a button kind of really isn't the first step. The first step is what?
Labo suggests setting variables. Jesse says need to link the child IDs, but we need to grab the original invoice child IDs.
But if Stan calls you from the office, are you going to tell him, for either one of you, Labo, or, I mean, you're not wrong. That's not the point. I'm trying to do it for beginners here to get them to think about this in brutal, basic human terms. You're not going to tell Stan, who doesn't program, it's not his job, he doesn't give a shit, how to do it. Well, first you need to find or be on the invoice you want to duplicate. And then step 2 will be what? So we could probably, we could duplicate it, right? You could press, you could do Command D or select duplicate from under the record menu, right? Select duplicate under the record menu, right? Right. So then you have that. So then they have a duplicate, but they don't have the child record. So how are we going to solve that? What's the next step? Okay.
You'd have to know what child records you had previously, right? Or what child records.
Okay, yes. All right, so there you go. So if you're going to tell one, now here's the thing. This is a little awkward because if we're duplicating it here, we started here, we duplicated here, we have a copy. So it copied the parent record of the invoice, but it didn't copy the line items. So we have to tell the person on the phone, we're just giving this verbally, you need to go find, you can't say go find the child records and duplicate them, okay? What we have to do is tell them, well, you're on invoice, whatever the ID is, INV 0002, okay? What I'm going to do is have you go to a new window because we don't want to mess you up. So Stan, you're there? Stan, yes, Stan. Stan, be cool. Don't panic. You're not going to get fired today. I'm going to help you with this. I know the boss wants this. We're going to help you do it right now. So Stan, we're going to find, just trust me on this. I'm not going to explain to you why, Stan, how this works, but I'm going to tell you to do these steps, step by step. If you follow these steps, Stan, you're going to get a duplicate. So what I'm going to do is say, Stan, I want to go to a maintenance layout, okay? And Stan goes, what's a maintenance? Stan, I'm not telling you what a maintenance layout is, but this is what I want you to do. I want you to go to a maintenance layout and find the invoice line items. Oh, okay, I found that. And let's just pretend that there's a bunch of records in here, okay? Okay. Stan. Yes, Stan. I need you. Now we were on the invoice 00002, right? Right? I want you to find for me that invoice over here. How would it be over there? Just Stan. Trust me, Stan. So I'm going to copy this value. I'm going to come over on this window over here, and I'm going to do a find, Command F, so enter find. Oh, Stan goes, I can do finds. I totally can do finds, okay? Stan's in sales. He doesn't do programming. Find. Go to ID invoice, paste in that number. No records match. That's not good. What's wrong? Let's see. Which one are we on? We're on, Stan, you were on the wrong invoice. Stan, you're on the wrong invoice. Go back. Get the right one. Copy it. Command copy it. Go to the other window. Do a find. Paste in there. Okay, I see 3 lines. Are these the same 3 lines that were over here? Yes, Dan, they are. Got it. Okay, cool. So if you can articulate it like this, Jesse, and I'm not being flip or talking down to people. This is how I solve problem. I do it much faster, but this is how you walk through it, how you would tell someone to solve it. So then you're like, well, I need you to duplicate these 3 for me right here. And I say, okay, so I'm going to click on the first one, and I'm going to duplicate it. And then I'm going to go to the second one, and I'm going to duplicate it. And I'm going to go to the third one and duplicate it, right? And so now you've duplicated these, but they have the wrong ID invoice on them. Well, Stan, what you have to do is as you duplicate them, you would have grabbed that invoice from over here and stuck it in here. So the idea is you're walking them through this. So maybe that instruction wasn't so good. Let's try this again. I'm going to back up one step, right? Margaret, I'm going to back up one step.
Well, yeah, no, real quick.
Yeah.
This kind of works because scripting is fundamentally essentially another person wandering around the database, opening windows and doing shit as you tell them to do it.
Correct statement. Correct.
That's why we're doing it this way, right? It's because it's basically the way that scripting works is identical to you talking to someone through the problem.
Correct. If you can, the point is, if you can talk someone through the problem, even if you don't know what the script steps are, you can verbally talk them through the problem. Find those 3, duplicate them, but you need to give them the correct invoice ID. Well, the invoice ID down here is 0002. So I'm going to find the first one, duplicate it, and then give it that new invoice, right? And then you're going to go to the next one, and you're going to Command D duplicate. I can go to here to records and say duplicate. and then I'm going to put that in there. So partly what you had to do with Stan, and this was important, and I at the beginning of this, you go Stan. So the invoice that we're starting with up there, you started, yep, so you're going to write this down on a piece of paper. And if I'm writing something down on a piece of paper, Stan has to remember this. And this gets back to one of your suggestions, Labo or someone's suggestion, who suggested about variables, right?
That was Labo 404,
yeah,
yes.
Because you folks all get where this is going. So you got invoice 001, and then we want to, now Stan, on this other invoice, you have the 2 right here. You want the new invoice is 0000. There's 4 zeros in there, and it's 2. This is also why I don't use UUID in training, because if I had to explain this to Stan, Stan's head would explode. Okay, you can't say, Stan, copy that 32-digit random string of okay, never work, right? That's a hard conversation to have with a human. So that's why I train this way. So now you're going to find the third one, and you would duplicate it, and then you would put that in. So you can already see where this script is going. We pop a new window. Before we popped a new window, we captured the invoice number over here, right? And then you duplicated it, right? And then and then you would capture the ID of the new one as well. Then probably what you would do, that becomes an option here. So now that you've done this, if you come down here to Stan's invoice down here, basically, there it goes, it updated. So basically the process is done. We've basically done this. So how do we want to script this? I can see this a couple different ways. Type in the product IDs. Yeah, I would just duplicate them, right? I think you're on the right track. So at the beginning, so let's walk through the steps again one more time. Margaret, you want to walk through the steps here? So step beyond the invoice 1, and then I would say before you duplicate it, I would probably insert this, copy the, we'll call it original invoice ID, and I'm going to use a little more technical term here, variable. We've already decided that we need to write it down. I got a Post-it note here, right? So you write it down. Now we're going to start translating this. Copy it, then duplicate it, then copy the, I'll call it I'm going to call it destination. I don't want to use the word copy. I'm going to call it the destination or new invoice. Okay. Invoice ID. So now you set a variable, duplicate it, then set another variable, right? Now you need to, the next step is to, there's 2 ways of doing this. We did this the other day. The other way of doing it, and we're going to actually code and do this here momentarily, but I'm helping you write this down because you'll see how what we verbally did, then it comes to here, and then we, well, I have an idea on that too, how to keep it simple, how to target those records. So copy new invoice ID, then we say pop a new window. And I want to vote from people on this. Do you want me to do it very simply, or do you want me to use the go-to related record thing on it, right? Because it's problem is go-to related record requires a little bit of knowledge of relationships in there. And
I don't see why we couldn't do both.
Oh, okay. Well, why don't we do it the basic way first, then we'll do the go-to related record one. Yeah, Jesse's a GTRR is the go-to way. I'm just thinking about, so can we do the basic one first?
Yeah, and then that way you understand why GTRR works.
Yeah, why GTRR. Actually, that's a great explanation of GTRR. Pop a new window and navigate to the invoice, I'll just call it maintenance layout for invoice line items. Now, a maintenance layout, for invoice line items. Here's the with a maintenance layout. Maintenance layout allows you to see the data 1, 2. When I do maintenance layouts, I try never to put triggers on the layout. So if you take a script and you go there, you can run around in there and do things without it worried about stepping on a landmine and blowing yourself up by accident. Right? Margaret, you follow? Maintenance layouts give you access to the underlying data and don't have triggers. And if you want a maintenance layout with a trigger on it, then have maintenance layout 1 and maintenance layout 2. That makes sense, Margaret?
You need to have a layout that doesn't have any extra fripperies or fancy.
Yeah. So if I go just real quick to solidify or codify that design idea. One of you said manage layouts. If I go to layouts real quick, I'm going to pop this up. Remember the little sparkler explosive laser looking thing means that there's a trigger. That's a layout level trigger, not an object level trigger. We found that out the other day. So if I have maintenance layouts down here, if I turn down here, a couple of them have triggers on the layout. So, but as a general rule, there's my invoice line items. It doesn't have one. There's probably not one on the objects on the layout. Once again, this is just maintenance for this purpose, okay? So we're going to go to, so back to our steps. Pop a new window, navigate the layout for invoice line items. Okay, next thing we're going to do is do a search for the invoice ID for the line item. So that's from the variable, right? Yes, that's from the original, right? What's the next step, Margaret? One of you folks want to help? What's the next step? Okay, back up. Let me just do it. I'm over here. Where's the other one at? Did I lose the window? No, it's right here. Okay, find mode. I have this as a variable. I'm just going to use my clipboard right now. Find, Command F, paste, return. That's where I'm at right now. What's the next step?
Set a variable with the product ID?
Set a variable. No, the product. Okay. The product IDs are blank because the source is blank. If everyone wants me to feel better about that, I will. Well, it doesn't have a. Oh, that's interesting. How do you put the product ID? Oh, if I add a line. Oh, this is where you could create a new product over here. Product name. Blue choose for weasels. I don't even know what that would do. That sounds really dangerous. Cost is 5, price is 6, taxable yes, SKU number, whatever, say done. Oh, there's a bug. See that? Would somebody kindly report that to what's his name?
Yeah.
Can you make a note of that? So now we have a number here. So the product ID, the ID, now I have 4 items over here, okay? So if I come back over here and I Command R is a refind, right? As a refind, everyone? Refind, Command R, hit return. There are 4 because I must not have saved it, right? Invoice line items. Go back over here, Command F, paste. Did I not commit the record? There's 4. So it was over here, but I was still typing in it and I hadn't committed it, so I hadn't saved to the server, which means that other windows and other users couldn't find it yet, right? So it was safe. So there are 4 records now, okay? The product ID doesn't matter. The idea is we want so the specification for this, Stan calls you in a panic, he needs a duplicate of the invoice. The invoice has to be identical copy. So we're not going to change anything else here. All we have to do is, so what I need to do is come up with a simple way of having Stan duplicate these. So if I start at the top one and I command duplicate it, or maybe we start at the bottom. That's what we do. We do it from the bottom. Stan, okay, let's do it. You'll love what I'm about to do here. Navigate to the bottom of the list of line items. Okay, great. He's at the bottom. Last record. Duplicate record. Duplicate the record. Then set the ID for this duplicated record. Set ID. Set ID for set the ID invoice for the duplicated record to the new destination, or new, what do we call it? To the new invoice. Okay, so you duplicate it, and then we use that other number which we had in the variable, right? I don't have a variable in front of me, it's over here. This is what we would have captured, right? Makes sense. You paste it in here, okay, right here. Then you're going to you'll love this, press, I'm just going to say omit record button twice. So press Command T is to omit a record. If you go to records, you can say omit the record, Command T right there. I'm going to do it once. I'm going to do it twice. Okay. repeat back to step G, okay? And so it's going to loop. So then it's going to say, aha, duplicate, set, omit, omit, duplicate, set, omit, omit, duplicate, set, omit, omit. Okay.
Why are you omitting twice? I don't understand.
Because I omit the one I created plus the one that I've already duplicated.
Oh.
Just think about this. Okay, let me do this again so you can see what happened here. So if I do INV and it's 0, is it 001 or 01 like that? There it is. Okay. If I'm just going to do this and I'm going to duplicate to another. If I hit duplicate, so and I change this to the new value. Now, at this point, I don't want to mess with this one anymore, so it should get out of my face. And this one has already been duplicated. I don't have to worry about that anymore, so it should get out of my face. The issue is with this is that it'll work, okay? This will totally work. You're still going to have to, identify the INV001s, but we can write this script. It's so simple because if we can talk our way through it. Now, the trick was what I wanted to do was a reliable way to duplicate it, fix the new one, and then get rid of both of them out of my to-do list. And that's why I jumped to the bottom, because at the top, the problem is that if you do it the other way, right? So there's like I'll just put this to 3. And then I omit, let's just start here again. We do a find. If I did the first one, I duplicate it. I have the new one here. I put that in there. I omit this, and then I need to omit the other, because I need a loop that's going to step. And so how do I know which one to omit? I can either omit the one I'm on easily or omit the one at the top. I guess I could say go back to the top and omit that one, but it just seemed easier to save the navigation, if that makes sense, right? Technically,
yes.
You could actually trap the unique ID right over here, right? So say we're at the top. We're going to duplicate it. We set it. And then before we did that, we would trap this number in a variable. Then we omit this. And then we have to target, do a find over here of this. And we omit it. Now we've blown so then you have to pop another. It gets kind of unwieldy. So it's just a little bit of a trick to make if you're explaining it on the phone, just think about the simplicity. If it's easy to explain on the phone, it'll be easier to script it. I mean, we've already seen now 3 possible ways of doing this without the GTRR, and clearly going to the bottom and then working the 2 on the bottom against each other and then omitting them, both of them, and then this looping until you get to a point where you go to next record and there is no next record because you're out of records. Does that make sense? So let's actually write the code out. Okay, we're going to write the code out. I'm going to get rid of all these shenanigans in here. So we successfully manually told Stan how to do it. And then the last thing we'd tell Stan to do is, okay, you're out of things here. Close the window. You're done. Okay? Make sense? And you should be on that. So now, if out of line items, just close the window. So if you can verbally walk through this, you can code this. This is all, you don't even need to use GTR. Now, GTR, you can use it. We'll do that, and hopefully we have time. That's the problem with this. We can always pick it up tomorrow on this because this is an ongoing conversation. So now I'm going to save this, close this, come over, close that over here. I'm going to come over here and we're going to script it. So we're going to be on this invoice right here. I'm going to say script workspace. We're going to start a script. I'm going to create a button. Actually, what we'll do is we'll just put the script at the top under scripts right here. We'll make it visible on the top. And so what I want to do is I want to go down to invoices. And if I turn invoices down, I have processes. And processes are supposed to be kind of semi-automatic processes. Okay, so I'm going to create a new one, Ava tax, which I don't even think that works anymore. That probably needs to be removed out of there. So we're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have this indent. 1235. How about that? 1235, duplicate invoice. And I'm going to call it simple without the fancy. So what were the steps that we gave that we were over here that we gave, Margaret?
Yes. Be on the invoice you want to duplicate. Which you are at.
So comment. Assume we are on the invoice we want to duplicate, because that's a context issue. Duplicate ATE, right? Okay. Next step.
Copy the original invoice ID into variable.
Set variable, right? And that was Labo or someone. So we're going to say, and we're going to local variable. So it'll be dollar original invoice, INV, specify. We're on invoices. We want the ID underscore invoice. Okay. 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 Now we're going to, what are we going to do now? Next step?
Select duplicate user the record menu.
Duplicate record request. Next step.
Copy the new invoice ID.
Okay, so I'm going to duplicate this variable one. I already wrote this to make my life easier. I'm going to come up here and say new invoice, and I'm going to grab that. And just to make sure, on the top of my head, I don't know if you duplicate it, it executes an immediate commit. But just to keep myself out of trouble, I'm going to add this to make sure it's saved it. Because if you save the server, then it's going to get that new primary key and everything. On the top of my head, I'm not. Remember, we all have limitations. If someone comes to me and says, "Richard, give me all your money and tell me if duplicate commits a record," I think it does, right? But I'm not sure, so I'm going to just put it in here just in case. Now, what do we do, Margaret? We're on the duplicate. Okay, now what do we want to do?
Pop a new window and navigate to the maintenance layout for invoice line item.
New window. Okay. I'm going to put that down here. I'm going to put this. I'm going to specify. It'll be a document. Okay. And there's a lot of reasons to pop a new window. The biggest of which is that we can. It's the reason we would have Stan do it or anyone else do it is that way Stan can do a bunch of work and then he closes it and he's back where he started. The same benefit to Stan, not confusing the poor guy on the phone, is the same benefit we have in FileMaker. Because if Stan's confused, then we have to do gymnastics to figure out where we should go. It's better just to close it and we're back where we wanted. We never left, right? It's like you. So well, let's call it layout to do a quick line item duplicate. Okay, that's the name. Doesn't particularly matter. Layout is going to be. Whoop, down here to maintenance, right? Why do we like maintenance layouts, Margaret? Because why?
Because there's no script triggers or any other hidden layout.
They should be lightweight, not a lot of graphics or things on them to slow them down. So they should be faster too, and no landmines. Okay, window options, whatever, that's fine. So now we're there. Now this is where, right in here is where you could have put the GTRR. I'm going to do it manually real quick. So what we're going to say is enter find mode, okay? Pause off, okay? And we're going to set the field that we're looking for. So set field, and we're going to set the field. Now we're not in here. We're not in T12 invoices. We're on a layout that belongs to invoice line items, which is going to be a different. There it is, T13. You don't go there that often, but there's T13, and that's the layout that belongs to. That makes sense, everyone? That's kind of back to anchor buoy. I know it's that way because we use anchor buoy, and that would be the rule for it, right?
Yes.
So once again, this is me doing it this way. We'll duplicate this new GTR momentarily. So we're on invoice line. We want to go to ID invoice. Oh, Margaret, that should be, tell Hogel the field definition for invoice line item should be underscore invoice underscore F for foreign key.
Yep.
Okay, can you make a note about that? Yeah, we're actually testing starting point, finding issues with that's not it's not broke, but it's not clear by putting foreign key on there. We're back to primary keys and foreign keys. Okay, now we want to set this to, we're okay with that. We want to set it to the dollar, and this is where Monkey Bread comes in. I put dollar. Oh, is it even? Oh, this is a new computer. Monkey Bread's not installed on here.
Oh no!
Oh, Margaret, no. Right here would auto-populate if Monkey Bread was in here, right?
Yeah.
Less likely to make a mess. So we do a search for that. Then we perform the find, which actually in a lot of, this can be frankly faster. Not really faster than GTR, but for a lot of other things, it could be much faster. Perform the find, okay? Now you're going to be on some sort of list view, okay? what we want to do is we haven't turned any error capture on here. We should talk about error capture at the end. Enter find mode. Now what's the next step? You told him to find the line items. Now what are we going to do?
Navigate to the bottom of the list of line items.
Okay, so I think it's go to record
last.
Record last, I think. Yeah, record last. Okay, go to record last. Okay. Now what do we do?
Set ID invoice for the duplicates record to the new invoice.
If I do that, what am I on right now? Right? Do you understand what you just said? Okay, I'm over here. Okay, I said copy this value. Okay.
Yes.
New. You're obviously not. Either my checklist is wrong, or
I mean that's what it says in the next.
Then there's a missing line in there. You go to invoice items. You do a find mode, Command F. You pay. You set the value. You hit return.
Yes.
You go to the bottom one. Now, what did it say to do? What's the next step?
It says set ID invoice for the duplicates record to the new invoice.
Does it not say duplicate record first?
No.
Okay, please add that. That's wrong. You have to duplicate it. Well, if you change it right now, you're actually this would be if Stan called you and said, "Hey, I need a way to transfer the line, not copy, transfer the line items from this invoice to this other invoice." That's what you're doing. You're forcibly taking hostages. You said, "You're dead or alive. You're coming with me," right? Kind of thing, right? Yeah. As opposed to duplicate, right? It's a forcible relocation, right? It's like Yogi Bear. You trap him in the woods. You move him to some other forest away from the people. So duplicate, then set that value to that was a variable we had, right? I'm just going to come over here and grab it.
Yes.
Okay, yes. So then we set that there, right? Yes, so we're going to come back over to our script. We're going to say duplicate record. Then we're going to say set field, right? And so because that we can verbally articulate this to Stan, we also can code it. How awesome is that? If you can, because a lot of people can explain how to do it. They're like, I don't know how to script. I'm not a programmer. What the hell, right? And the reality is, with FileMaker so great, if you can verbally explain it, then you can code it because it's plain English. So invoice line items, ID invoice foreign key, right? Go to here. And then we're going to paste the variable in, $. And it's the, what do we call it? It was called
original underscore ing.
We duplicated it. What do you do with the duplicate, Margaret? So we duplicated it. And after you duplicate, what do you put in there? Not the original. You said original.
Oh.
It's the new invoice number, right?
Yes.
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 Are you following that, or are you just saying yes to humor me?
I'm confused.
Okay, I can tell. So
there's only one variable. There's the one original.
No, there's two. There's two. Set variable there, set variable there. We capture both variables at the beginning. Yes. That's because Margaret's also talking to all you folks. I'm focused. She's not. She's distracted. That's not fault. So duplicate, set field. Now what do we do? Now we set that variable. Then now what do we do, Margaret? What do we do?
You press the omit record button twice.
Omit record. Okay. How many times?
Twice.
Omit records twice.
Will it actually process that twice? Because sometimes FileMaker goes too fast for itself, and it doesn't actually.
On record management, it's mostly when you're setting values and they haven't been saved back to the server. In this case, it's just going to omit. I don't think you're going to have a speed problem. I don't think you have to slow that down. I understand your question. It's not a fact. It's not,
yeah, okay.
Not a factor. Over. No factor. Yeah, I had that happen the other day. Some guy tried to run me down his airplane. It's like, he's 1,000 feet above me. No factor. Ken and his hot air balloon. All right, so we omit. So now what do we do?
You need to add a loop to this.
Yeah, we go back to that
above 17, right?
Yeah. So now what we do is we need to do a loop. So somewhere there's a loop. Okay, and remember we start the loop and then we have to find a way to exit the loop. First, we want to do is we're going to assume that we're at the. I'm just going to give you a hint here. When the loop starts, we assume we're at the correct location, or we can easily get the correct location. We're at the correct location because we did omit puts us at the correct location to begin again. Yes?
Okay, so it'll stay at the bottom of the page and it won't like fly away to the top
Nope,
after
because
you
you omit, right? If I come over here and I'm going to hit the keyboard shortcut for omit, Command T, Command or Control T, 1, 2, 3, once, twice. Now I'm still on the next one down, right? It didn't fly away, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yes.
Now what we would do is we would say omit. Now here's the deal. What is now what did you tell Stan? Stan, you're going to keep doing this until what happens?
Until you run out of line items.
Okay. So how do you tell the script, keep doing this until you run out of line items?
Exit if there's nothing in the found record.
Nothing.
Or there's no more found.
Yes.
No more.
Yeah.
I'm saying it poorly.
Yeah. Keep doing it. You're there. Exit. Not application. By the way, developers hate that. That's the first one that comes up. Exit loop if exit loop is, so what is it? It's a get function probably. Get.
If get found count is 0.
Okay. Oop. Equals 0. Okay. And then you're going to, after that, so then basically exit the loop. Now what's the next step? Close window. You're done. You just wrote this whole thing yourself. And it took us less than an hour to do it. And all of you, I think to some degree, just remind, every time you feel stressed, God, I gotta eat the whole elephant, one bite at a time. And we verbalized it, then we wrote the instructions down in a text, and then we took those instructions and put them in here. I'm gonna say close window, save, and then maybe a beep and a high five or something or whatever, right? People hate beeps. Okay, so let's try it. We're over here on invoice 1. I'm going to go over here. I'm going to change some stuff. We're going to say angular clamp, free helicopter ride for art and live stream people. I would be happy to do that if we were around sometime. You want to jump in the helicopter, go for a ride, no problem. We have free helicopter ride. We have, let's say it's skunk scented scented gum. That would suck, right? And then I'm going to get rid of the last one here. Just say get rid of that. Delete line item. All right, so I have 3 of these right here, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be a quantity of 100, 101, and 102. Okay, so we're ready to try this. All right, I'm going to get rid of this.
Yes.
We got this over here. So that's the code. I'm going to save the code. I'm going to close the code, close that. All right, so we're all set. All right, we're going to run the script on this one right here. So we should get another invoice that is, so there's your invoice total. So here we go. 1, 2, 3. Invoice 3. There you go.
Is there 4? It's the same amount, but there is 4 products.
Oh, there was already a 103 in there. I'd already done that somewhere. If I do it again, if I do this again, it's because of bad data, test data. If I do it again, script, I say 1, 2, 3. There you go.
Oh, got it.
Now,
okay.
There is a side effect here of this design. What's the side effect?
Well, they're not ordered in the same way.
Yeah, that's because we went to the bottom and reversed it.
Oh.
So you could, yeah, the problem is that we're back to this. You could sort them. What you could do is you could sort, here's the deal. This is specific to your business situation. These items here are in the order created. I'm pretty, if I go to this portal, there's no sort in here. If you had a sort, that sort would still work. If you wanted to preserve the input order, then you'd have to adjust the script. And once again, I wrote the script. So duplicate, simple. I'm just going to hide that one. This is our code. It works pretty good. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to call it 1236. The last thing we're going to do, we're going to call it a day. Then we're going to pick this up tomorrow. Preserve creation order. So I'm actually thinking about how I actually even want to do this. So how do we, and so you're like, well, I don't know how to code that. Okay, to stop with the coding. Okay, new window, go to our thing, right? Go to here and mechanically think how we want to solve this problem. So copy, find, paste. So here's what we got. Okay, so how do we So if I go to the, I could be at the top, duplicate, fix the number here, omit it, then go back to the top and omit. It's kind of a hack, but it's how you would fix it in the most simplistic way of explaining it to Stan. Does that make sense what I said? So duplicate, go to record request last, go to record request first. Duplicate, set it, omit it, then go to record request first and omit. And then you would, I think that'll work. I think that's it. I think it's a little bit of zigzag, but it's not going to that big of a performance problem because FileMaker's already loaded the records into memory from the server, so they're all local. You're not going back and forth to the server. If you were doing that, this would definitely suck. Okay, so let's try this one. I'm going to save this one. I'm going to say we had scented skunk. So I'm just going to call this record A, so we can see our order record B, and then this is going to be record C here. And then let me add a record here. I'm going to say D, Jesse's coffee pack. David Angel. Yeah, there's many ways to do the same thing. So once I'm doing in this script, I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible because I don't want people to get freaked out. God, I don't know what to do, right? You all know what to do if you slow down and articulate it and explain it. It's when you get in a hurry and you're on the phone with people and they're like, gotta have this done right now. Gotta have it done right now. You have to learn to focus, chill, focus on the one thing. So we're going to try, first I'm going to do is I'm going to do it in reverse order. We're going to see how that, oh, we're on the, okay, we're on this one. So we're on invoice 4. I got A, B, C, and D. I'm going to duplicate this one the old way so we can see what it does. Now we're on the new one and they're backwards. Okay, that sucks. Now let's go back to A, B, C, D. Let's duplicate it with our new script to see if it will preserve it. 1, 2, 3.
Oh, hey, there you go.
So tomorrow we're going to pick this conversation up with GTRR, talk about that. We're going to add error. So Margaret, make a note. We're going to do error capture on this. And then we're going to do the GTR, which absolutely requires error capture. You have to be careful.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. We good?
The GTR will be fun. I think that was the very first script step you had to teach me because that's the one that I wanted to know. I was like 13.
But strictly speaking, you don't, okay. Basically the GTRR saves you from having to do a find, okay, and doing that.
Mm-hmm.
For training and beginning stuff, I'm kind of a fan of this.
Mm-hmm.
Because the thing is with this, it's hard to screw this up. It's easy to screw up GTRR. Once it's working, it's fine, but it's easy in your head to forget where you're at and where you want to go because you have to jump through the relational graph. This right here, you don't have to know anything about the relational graph. You can do this without any knowledge of the relational graph, so it has no other dependencies. If you can explain it to Stan, you can solve the problem.
Yes, which is actually really cool. Timothy Bulwark said pseudocode in English. Good job, Richard.
Yeah, that's why FileMaker is so easy. If you think about explaining to someone, then you can write it down, articulate it. Then all you have to do is find the hard part here was like really knowing the loop. You could have, if you didn't know any better, just keep duplicating this block of code right here, right? You keep going here and duplicate it, and right, that kind of thing, and just duplicate it 50 times, I guess, right? But it's better with the loop. So that was, you have to throw that in there, but it makes sense. That's where, yeah. So anyway, we had to adjust it a little bit. You don't always have to put a loop in there. Sometimes just take the instructions straight. So that's it for today, everyone. I appreciate it. We're going to catch you tomorrow. I'll be at Claris on Thursday. We'll see what happens there. That should be fun as well. Thanks.
relational.